Yeah, I was talking to the professor the other day.
That was a wonderful person, the professor. Yeah.
Oh, yes, he's frightfully. It took me a couple of archaeological digs once yesterday.
Oh, I dig that.
Dig! Oh, you're here.
Sorry.
Hello, everyone out there.
Welcome back to the first episode.
Yes. What? Wait. Should we put like a test pattern in beforehand? For those of you wondering who the heck are these furry guys in front of me here, welcome everyone out there to the inaugural episode. Did I say that? Inaugural?
Inaugural.
It sounds like a dog choking on a bone. To the inaugural episode of Gaming with Intention, the Bodhana-Cast.
Yeah.
So what is that?
It's gaming with intention.
I'm in. So, Gaming with Intention, the Bodhana-Cast, is a video cast which will also be available in audio format that we, every episode, are going to discuss and give you a breakdown of a board game, role-playing game, concept from tabletop gaming in general, and then we're going to kind of show you how that is more than just fun. There's a lot of review shows out there, you know, they do a really great job of telling you about, like, how great the mechanics are and how the pieces are constructed and how colorful the board is, which very colorful when you find out what we're talking about today.
Mm-hmm.
But so we figure all those folks do that stuff great. So we're going to talk about what we know. That might lead someone to the question of what the heck is a Bodhana-Cast?
Well, a Bodhana-Cast is a cast both in video and words that is done by a group called Bodhana.
Ah, the Bodhana Group.
I went really literal. I'm hoping that's okay.
Literal. No, it's okay. The Bodhana Group is a 501c3 charity organization. We're based in York, Pennsylvania. I got the little emblem here on my shirt. I'm the executive director, one of the founders. We use tabletop gaming for education, skill development, and therapy. So this is what we do. So it's what we're going to talk about. And our goal is to help you think about your gaming in a slightly different way. Because gaming has kind of I guess it's in its, fifth renaissance or whatnot? It's in its eighth renaissance.
Renaissance period, yes.
If you count marbles and Nine Men's Morris.
I don't know. I don't know what you're talking about anymore.
Sounds like a very bad pirate franchise. But we want you to think about how games are more than just a way to get together with friends, family, kith and kin, to play games and have fun. These are things that can build skills. They can teach us valuable educational concepts, and they can also be therapeutic, especially if folks are, maybe have some social anxiety or something like that. These are a wonderful platform for people to get together. Now, we have to say, though, that this is not therapy. Nothing that we say here is intended to be taken as therapeutic advice, and we do always state that do not try to do therapy if you are not a trained therapist. Okay?
This is also a form of adjunct therapy.
Yes.
So the best thing that you can do is still to have professional help or therapist of some sort of guide, but this is in many ways a fantastic tool and application that can be used along with regular therapy, like fiber, like just be regular.
Something just occurred to me. People know who I am. They don't know who you are.
That's not true. Everybody knows who I am. I'm me. Ha cha cha cha. My name is James Kirk. I am a volunteer.
Wait, James Kirk?
Yeah.
Seriously? Really?
That's a true story. I am a volunteer with the Bodhana Group, and I've game mastered for them. We had some kind of a GM title at some point, but it's not important. I help with Save Against Fear every year, our large convention. Awareness fundraising thing, and I do some stuff in the background, which you don't see because it's
in the background.
It's in the background. So that's me. I've gamed for many years,
Many years.
and had many wonderful experiences, Mahoney. And then aside from that, I work professionally as a manager for an escape room business. So I professionally lock people in rooms.
Wow.
As a thing, which also pays me to be a GM because then I essentially watch them solve puzzles and play games to get out of the room and give them hints when they need it. So it's kind of awesome.
Yeah, I as well am a gamer. I've been a gamer since I'm about 12 years old, playing my first role-playing game. I've been playing board games, pretty obsessively, as you can see with some of the collection that's behind us here on the set of the Bodhana-Cast. I am also a master's level therapist who has worked with children, teens, as well as adults, neurotypical, as well as folks with disability. So we cover a wide kind of array here, and as you can probably already tell, we're going to try and keep it a little bit serious while at the same time keeping it a bit silly, because gaming at its very, very heart and core is about fun.
It is both serious and silly.
It is serious
at the same time.
silly. It covers both sides of a plate. Coin?
I'm sorry. Did you...
Plate? Yes. Papers, roughly.
News!
Ladies and gentlemen, all ships at sea, let's go to Flash. Flash! Hitler rages across Europe. That's a bit outdated as far as news. But we're going to start on kind of a silly... well, it's different than Huey Lewis in the news. Yes,
it is.
Tons of pop culture references as well, which will probably bore some of you and excite others. And if you're confused, please ask your parents. So we're going to ask a silly question or two to each other, kind of get the ball rolling, a little bit more of our character here.
We have not seen these questions. Jack and I wrote them.
I've seen the questions that we're going to ask you.
5 minutes ago.
Oh.
So these are things that neither of us know what the other one is about to ask. All of the reactions that you see will be live.
James.
Jack.
Who would win in a fight? Carrots, celery, or potatoes? And why?
Celery would lose because it's dumb. And if we come down to carrots and potatoes, and I would have some difficulty deciding who I was going to root for.
Did we mention there would be puns? Oh, jeez. Sir, wait a
I'm
second. In there.
I'm so ashamed of myself. I think in the end that I have to give it to potatoes because they go more deliciously with steak.
Oh, very nice. Very nice.
Yeah,
All right.
as a side dish.
So what do you got for me, Smokey?
Carrots, never saw that coming. So, Jack, I think the first thing that everybody out there wants to know, if you weren't doing tabletop therapy, do you think that you would go back to your first love of sensationalist journalism?
That is so weird, considering the earlier time. I'm sorry, I retract my statement. Hitler is not waging war across Europe, it's David Hasselhoff. That's right, David Hasselhoff with KICK, Knight Industries TT. I don't know what the other T stand for. Yes, I would totally go back into hack sensationalist journalism because it's fun and,
Good stuff.
very nice. Your favorite fairy tale character that you would like to see done as a wrestler?
Oh my god.
I don't think that's a fairy tale character.
No.
No? Okay.
Holy crap. Who would I want to see done as a wrestler?
Yes, from the fairy tale character Armada.
I think I'd want to see Hansel and Gretel. But Gretel would be like one of those like mannish women, like it would be a tag
like
team.
Like a China?
And they would both be gigantic, square-shouldered German dudes that came out in like Lederhosen and the smock.
What are you having in your coffee?
Thing.
I'm just throwing it out there.
That would be a German tag team duo, Hansel and Gretel. Hansel und Gretel.
With the heavy T emphasis.
Yeah. Und the Crush.
Is there a tag team move, the Witch's Oven?
I think we just call it the Gingerbread House.
Nice.
Yeah.
Like it. Well, they have to be gingers.
Yeah. That would be important.
So what's my final question before we get to this?
Not your final one. There's three of them.
What?
So if you could eat one pie, forsaking all other pies, like what is your pie?
Wet bottom shoe fly. I mean, I live in Pennsylvania.
Really?
My last
Wet
name
bottom
is
shoe
Berkenstock.
fly?
I have no choice. It's in my genetic makeup.
I did not expect that. Okay.
Yes.
I thought you were going to go with like a
Dry
banana
bottom
cream
shoe fly
or
pie is an oxymoron.
Dry bottom shoe fly pie
That's
is just cake.
Right, exactly. Cake with no molasses.
Yeah, that's terrible.
All right. So I have to kind of finish up my list asking you favorite version of Flux and why.
Actually, I would go Zombie Flux because of the first one I ever played.
Wrong, you lose. No, I'm just
No, I didn't know there was a right
first one
answer.
you ever played, huh?
Yeah, I've played
Nice.
2.
I like having to get the baseball team of zombies. You got to get like 9 zombies. That's
Yeah.
win conditions.
Yeah, it was fun.
It's pretty slim.
It's neat.
And what do you got for me here, Rolly?
Have you ever run a marathon before? And if not, how many rabid aardvarks would it take you to run one?
Well, first, I can very firmly say that the only thing that runs in my family is diabetes. So marathons, unless it's like a game marathon, I just don't think that's going to happen.
So how many aardvarks would it take if they were rabid?
It depends. If it's an aardvark from that old 70s cartoon, then I would definitely run with him.
And this is why we do these things.
To keep the memory of all of the Pink Panther cartoons alive, that's the news. We are out of here. It's that kind of chaos that rues the day. Rue! So, what are we here to talk about? Hopefully none of you have turned us off so far. And if so, we will definitely take that feedback in the future. See, this is where we need also Spock Zarathustra.
I don't know what you're talking about. Oh, yes!
Yeah!
Evolution!
It's a surprise.
Yeah.
So,
well,
today we are going to be introducing you to and talking to you about, giving you the Bodhana breakdown, if you will, of the game Evolution. This game is published by North Star Games, and it was designed by Dominic Krapachet, Dmitry Knorr, and Sergey Makin. And I hope I didn't butcher any of your names.
I'm pretty sure the K is silent.
I butchered the word butchered. Is that like meta? Should we play the Inception noise?
I'm fairly sure that Dmitry Knorr is probably Dmitry Nor.
Okay.
And the K is silent.
Like George.
Do you ask for a knife?
George Knorri.
Are you hoping that some knight runs in and saves you from the dragon?
Yes.
All right.
Holding a knife. So, game Evolution. James, you want to give us a breakdown of what the game Evolution is?
So
because we actually, we've baked a sample Evolution.
It's right in front of you.
Ask your parents.
It's almost ready to come out of the oven. So, Evolution is a board game in which the players create their own species and then have to essentially manage those species through their evolving phases.
Yeah.
You randomly get cards dealt to you that allow you to upgrade your species with different offensive and defensive tactics that each animal can use. You can upgrade their population and their body size because the larger the creature is, the less likely it is to get ate by a predator. You can actually turn your creatures into predators. Most of them start as herbivores.
So they eat people named Herb?
Yes, only people named
That's
Herb.
low
It's a
hanging.
very short food supply. Very short food supply. Unless everybody starts getting named Herb.
Herb.
So they all eat the plants, except for those that you make into meat eaters. One of the coolest things I think about this game, as far as like an educational aspect, is that it essentially teaches you how to balance an ecosystem, almost. Because everybody's creating these species, and everybody creates animals that start off as plant eaters, unless you make them a meat eater, Metasaurus.
Metasaurus.
But everybody has
the
to.
worst Chef Boyardee pasta ever.
Really?
Metasaurus with hot dogs. Because that was around in the prehistoric era, right?
So now it's meat instead of the little like noodles.
Yes.
It's just like here's meat and then hot dogs.
Yes.
Because it's not meat. So one of the coolest things about this game is that as you're creating these species, and you can create multiple ones, you can just decide like I want to have another animal, and then you make another animal type, and there it is. But as you continue to fill this board with more creatures, if they're all eating plants, eventually your food supply runs really low or starts to go away. So if people create predators at the table, those predators will eat the plant-eating species.
Because carnivores can't eat plants. They have to eat other animals.
So it's a sort of population control where, like, sometimes you've created your own monsters and you're like, I really wish somebody would just come along and eat my monsters so that I don't have to keep feeding all of them. So it's got a very cool visual as far as creating an ecosystem in the game. and then understanding that balance to be able to get yourself to some kind of a victory condition. So that was the first thing that I thought was really cool about the game.
Yeah, I mean, we're going to talk in a little bit about a little bit more of the educational kind of aspects to this. I mean, the game plays up to 6 players, and as you can see, it's a fairly well self-contained system. It has a lot of very nice components. This is your little species board, which can be vertically or horizontally laid. So you have different options about how to demonstrate your species. Now you get these little wood blocks, and these blocks help kind of tell how large your creature is, as well as how many of you there are. So if you have a larger population, you need to eat more because there's more of you to feed. And like James said, with the body size, it protects you from carnivores. So some of the traits, and basically every round you get your trait cards, and then your trait cards have numbers of food that you secretly donate to the watering hole, and that's where all the animals eat from, unless you're carnivores, because they eat from each other.
Right.
So you can make decisions like, do you want to be a carnivore? So you can attack other species. In the expansion that we have set up out here, there's actually the climate conversion kit, which turns the game kind of into this goes to 11, because...
Oh, does it?
Yes.
Fantastic.
Totally does. Back to the Brits. Where basically what the climate expansion does is it adds the fact that you have different temperature zones or different climates that are affecting the animals. So if you're all the way up here in the Ice Age, you're actually losing 30 bits of food every round that the animals could eat. Why? It's all frozen and the plants die off. Plus, you also get the chance to lose numbers off your population if your animal's of a certain size. So it really, when you said it teaches a lot about an ecosystem, it's absolutely, you're not just, whistling Dixie over here.
I don't know how to whistle Dixie. I knew you were going to say it. I was like, I have no idea how to do that.
Sorry. So there's a ton of different traits in here, and we're going to get to why these are awesome on different levels. So you basically get your cards, you decide what you want to put into the watering hole for food offering, then you use those cards to build up your species or create new species.
Right.
And then you go to the feeding stage, which is where you basically get your animals to nom-nom. And once all the animals are full, that round is over. And then once you go through this entire deck, the game is over. Basically, you get points based on the most food that you've eaten. You get 1 point per little nom-nom meal you've had. You also get a point for each species trait that you have on surviving animals. So if I got 4 on a card, I get 4 points for that. And also the number of population I have in a species, I get points for that. So at the end of the game, that's how you determine who wins.
So they have these little printed bags that you get. These are they come with the game, and this is your what's called a food bag. I like to call it my chit stomach. Because this is where all of the little tokens are going to go that you get to keep. You get to keep track of points.
Where you put all that chit?
That's where I put that chit.
Okay.
So, yeah, there's
safe for children.
this one has a little lizard on it. Jack is eating his.
No,
So
it's like
they're also delicious. So just like some cool stuff that comes with the game that a lot of other companies, this would just be a nondescript, like probably not even this sturdy of a bag.
like one of those like grandpa coin purse things you got to squeeze on the ends.
Yeah, it was like one step up from a Ziploc, I think.
Yeah. just one step.
So be the person with the most points at the end of the game, and you win.
So what? One of the things that we do now that we've given you kind of the basis. So the whole idea is to survive in an ever-changing ecosystem, whether that be because of the other animals that are on the board, or because of like I said with the climate expansion, how the temperature and everything affects what's going on. Oh no, he's extinct. That's how it happens. Forget the meteor theory.
We moved.
So here are some possible side effects. We always want to warn you. People are always like, you're talking about the good stuff. So here's some possible side effects that we've written down. First of all, one of the possible side effects is actually a benefit is you're going to understand a lot more Darwin jokes after playing this game. James, what else did you have as a possible side effect?
You're also going to learn that not all predators are aliens. Some of them are not just sent here to hunt Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Wait,
They're actually here for...
Believe it or not. Did you see what I did there?
Ripley!
Yeah, Ripley!
Oh, we got Ripley and aliens as predators.
Synergy.
We're so good at this.
Synergy. Number 3, and this is great for parents out there, eating vegetables is really, really important for your survival.
Yeah. You may also find yourself, after playing Evolution, if you've done it several times and you really enjoy the game, you may wake up one morning and just see that you've started to develop a hard outer shell that protects you from predators.
Does it melt in your mouth, not in your hands?
That is a different shell. That is a candy shell, and it's delicious.
And also, courtesy of one of the cards called Fat Tissue, there's unexplainable weight gain that you are now deciding to pass off as food storage.
Yep.
So those are some of the possible side effects of the game. Yes.
Yep, just be aware.
Now we're going to talk a little bit about some of the ways that this game develops different skills for people. And this is kind of just to show you how the game is more than just fun, but it's also very beneficial. We actually did play, a nice sample game in prep for this cast, so kind of had a review of a lot that's going on. I think the first thing really is, because the education has a lot to go with it, but there's a lot of critical thinking and a lot of consideration and choice that goes into this game.
Some of the things that you find in the cards themselves, you're going to be limited every turn. You get, I believe it's 3 cards in your hand every turn?
Yes, 3 cards plus the amount of species that you have in your array.
So you're going to have a limited amount of cards that you can use. And those cards are going to have a lot of different functions. They can either be offensive or defensive upgrades for that species to either protect them or help them fight off predators. There can be cards that will change you into a carnivore, cards that will specifically only work with carnivores or herbivores, depending on what your creature is. You have to decide which of these cards you're putting in for food, or if you're going to be the jerk that lays down one that says 0, because it's negative, because it's face down. It's face down. Nobody's going to know. No one's going to know. All right, so you're going to give up one of your cards for that every turn, and then you have to worry about not only using them, but then decisions to discard them to either increase the body size or your population. They don't get used for anything else but that. So there's a lot of things that go into it, and as you play the game, you kind of have to plan out not only what your species is doing developmentally, but there are certain things that, as you place your species in front of you, the actual order of where things are at becomes important. I'm thinking specifically, there's an alarm, a cooperation or alarm. A warning call is another one, where the animal makes a warning noise to let them know that predators are coming. So warning call, if you have 3 species out, affects the things to the right and the left of the thing that has a warning call. So if you only have one thing next to warning call, it's not protecting the 3rd species that's on the table. So there's a planning not only with what you're doing with your cards, but how you're arranging the different species that you're creating on the table.
And it's also one of those things that, speaking strategically, it's going to change every turn, because, maybe one turn the, person has a species and all of a sudden they've evolved it into being a predator. Well, now you have to consider, what's the body size of my species? Or do I have horns? Do I have a hard shell? Do I have defensive herding? There's a ton of different abilities that are going to help or hinder what goes on the board. Now, with the climate expansion, there's also the added bonus that on the cards there's either a frost symbol or a flame symbol or a sun symbol. So what basically happens there is, if there's more frost symbols, the little climate ticker moves a little bit closer to the cold air, as opposed to if there's more heat or sun symbols, it then moves more towards a tropical or a hot climate. So again, now you're not only affecting the food supply directly by the number on the card, but you're also affecting the overall climate. So that's another area of strategy of how, if you're looking around, you're like, there's a lot of big creatures out there and I'm kind of a little guy. Maybe I should push the heat to tropical, because that means everybody that's a 5 or 6 body, they're going to lose a population. So it's another way to kind of get rid of your opponents through just manipulation of, the climate and what we have as far as the environment. So yeah, a lot of strategy, a lot of critical thinking goes on in this game, but is there anything I missed as far as the critical thinking?
No, I just like that you picked the card that's one of my favorite pastimes, called
that?
Mud Wallowing.
Mud Wallow, that sounds like a band. Ladies and gentlemen, opening for Nickelback. Mud
Wallowing.
Yes. Flowers to the climate.
So they have to sound like that?
Of course, because they open for Nickelback.
All right.
So One of the next areas, and James kind of hit on this a little bit earlier when we talk about it, is the whole idea of education. And this is probably literally the hugest aspect of this game. You're learning about animals. You're learning about the food chain. You're learning about ecosystems. You're learning about the impact of climate change. These cards are actually, I mean, they discuss a ton of different traits. And when we give you your takeaways for the day, which is kind of how we end, or we're going to end every episode, telling you about different things, maybe activities you could take to the classroom or do in the home, or if it's a more therapeutic game, we'll focus on how to use this therapeutically for interactions and whatnot. But there is a ton of knowledge embedded in this game. Last night we were playing with Jem and Tori upstairs. And thank you also, Tori of Tori Borealis, for doing our wonderful little backdrop here for us. And in this, I mean, Jem kind of said he was a very, very, very excited student of biology when he was a young kid. And just seeing the childish glee at these little things of oh yeah, the horns, they do that, yeah, or oh my god, that's so cool that, once it gets hotter, it affects smaller creatures or bigger creatures or stuff like that. It was very interesting to see that childlike wonder.
That's cool. Yeah.
Of the educational aspect, because there is a ton of ore to mine educationally out of what this game has. And I guess we'll kind of talk about some of those activities a little bit more when we do our takeaways. What do you think? I mean, This game easily could be the centerpiece of a biology or a science lesson.
Yeah, I think so. I also think that you could design this so that you could basically build creatures ahead of time, almost to demonstrate. This is how these different things interact. But I really enjoy the idea that everybody wants to create their own. All right, I shouldn't say everybody. That's generalizing. Most cool people want to create... No, that's going the other way.
I don't want to create nothing, man. I ain't cool.
I just don't create dumb.
Tears for Fears clearly told us that everybody wants to rule the world.
Right. So to do that, you make a pacifist plant-eating animal that sticks to itself.
Yes.
You're the ability to create your own animals and what they would look like, and visualizing that sort of thing, and finding the right combinations of things to either make them a really efficient killing machine or a really good salad eater or whatever. You can do all of those really cool things.
I got shooters for days.
Yeah, so I enjoy this game because of the creative aspect of it, and all of the very, it's subtle, not subtle. The science. Excuse me. I choked on science. The science behind the game. Very prevalent, and yet when it doesn't hit you over the head with it, it's still a game. It's still fun. I think that was one thing that the designers remembered when they were making this, because this very easily could have gone the other way.
Oh yeah, with high as the scorching climate.
Science statistics and all sort of craziness that went in here, and no, the designers remembered that games are supposed to be fun, and I think that's something that I want everybody that watches this to take away from what we're saying every episode, is that at its core, regardless of what we're doing with these games, they still have to be fun.
Yeah, I mean, if you're, we actually, Bodhana had the opportunity to meet, we met Dominic down at PAX Unplugged in Philadelphia this year, and it was wonderful talking to him because there is a base game Evolution. There is also a base version that includes the climate expansion. There's also a standalone, not standalone, an add-on expansion called Flight, which adds airborne creatures to the mix. And there is an upcoming expansion that we actually got to see a sneak preview of that is an undersea expansion. So it adds, creatures under the water. Now we
under the sea. I had to say it.
Disney is all powerful.
It's totally gratuitous, and you threw it in my face, so I'm going to spray it.
Gratuit through it. That's a nice little rhyme you got.
Yeah, I like
it. But he showed us some of these undersea. It's like the marine expansion. It's absolutely phenomenal. I mean, and that just opens up a lot of the discussion points that are going to be some of the kind of takeaways for educational that we talk about. One more thing this game kind of helps develop a little bit, it talks, as with most games, about reading comprehension as a skill builder, because pretty much what the creatures do is going to be on the card. So, I mean, there's always that aspect, and pretty much reading any rule book is going to give you that kind of thing. Just so people go, hey, it helps with reading. Yeah, we know. But it also deals a little bit with resilience, which is the idea of being able to kind of roll with the punches, especially when once you get predators out on this board, species are kind of, they go extinct. If you don't have enough food
They get
to feed your population, you die off. That's kind of a fact of nature. And being able to kind of like, oh man, I had this species I was building up, and all of a sudden you get all kinds of chopping, that's kind of a bad thing. But
And then he deed.
he did. So, I think we covered most of the skill building as far
I think
as the
so.
game, right?
Yeah.
So, takeaways. These are basically little creative exercises. James actually kind of mentioned one earlier.
I did, but the one that I'm really excited about that Jack and I were talking about, we call this the Munchie Munchies. So one of the base tenets of the game is that every turn there is food, these little food discs that are put into the center. In the board itself has like a watering hole. It has an actual like pond that these things live in, and this is where you pull your food from. So we thought it would be really fun if you're doing like a family night and like kids are resistant to eat their vegetables as a stereotype. So get some cut up broccoli, carrots, cauliflower, celery, whatever. And have that stuff on hand.
Well, I
and
really
add,
nailed that question in the beginning.
Yeah, you really did. Celery's
Carrot,
disgusting.
Celery hates
Celery-
negative calories.
Celery should
I
die.
don't even
So,
know if that's true.
if you take these little cut up vegetables and just put the little bits in there as the food instead of the actual food tokens, you still have to use them because they're part of the game. But like, get the kids when their animals eat the food, like munch on the vegetables, kids. There we go.
Eat it like a dinosaur.
So eat it like a dinosaur would. Play little games with them. Get them to eat those carrots, man. They're delicious. Not as delicious as potatoes, but they're delicious.
Pretty sneaky, sis. So
I
so
do.
that's the one little takeaway there, which is basically draw the dinosaur. One of the things that I was kind of borrow from another game that's out there, Super Fight, is let's try to give everybody a set of what all of the traits are and have them design what they think is the perfect monster. Then have them have kind of like a Super Fight debate about which monster would beat the other monster in nature based on what qualities that they have. So that's a very creative kind of exercise that you could do. Again, a lot to me really hinges on these cards and the traits that are on there, because I mean, there's so, like I said, there's so much value in, I could say, okay, let's draw one at random. Heavy fur. What animals currently alive have heavy fur? So it kind of turns on like a contest of naming all the animals.
I know.
Fur. What? What's
Me.
That's keep your shirt on.
You
No.
have hair everywhere. We both should keep.
Our apologies.
Oh God.
But just that kind of aspect of what's the best quality for a creature to have in nature, or what maybe would be the next stage of evolution. What would you be like if you developed symbiosis? What might that look like on a human? There's a lot of kind of what if questions, and because that's one of the things a lot of folks talk about that in education. The whole idea of getting people to think more creatively, thinking outside of the box, and I think that given the opportunity for this game to discuss, like, well, why do you think that maybe a hot climate only affects medium-sized animals instead of everybody? Or why does tropical only affect really large animals? You know what I mean? Different points of discussion get kids thinking. And if you're doing that in the context of a game, I mean, remember kind of as always to not be too heavy with the learning hammer. Or the therapy hammer. Like, it's one of those things that if I know that I'm being talked down to, or if I know
They're all hammers.
they're all hammers. And children aren't nails. I mean, let's be honest. No. Yeah,
There's never like a screwdriver of education.
or the wrench.
Ah, yes. Yes, the wrench of learning.
The wrench of learning. Actually, I think the wrench would be like the wrench of like economics. That seems like the only.
Economics seems like a
That
wrench.
seems
Yeah.
like a wrench. Well, screwdriver maybe.
Or a dumpster fire,
Depending
on-
fire.
depending on your economics.
Wow.
I guess.
So, I mean, those are some of the ideas of what you can kind of get out of this game. That's a little bit of the Bodhana breakdown here.
one of the things that we want you guys to do too is if you, especially if you've played this game or you do play this game, and you have any cool takeaways or ideas that you can think of that might enhance gameplay, you know, like drawing your species. If you're into that, I'm not really good at it. All of my stuff's gonna
Or
look
if
like
you want to give that a try, send us your artwork.
Yeah.
You know, if you're out there, if you got kids, if you're family, you know, just draw 3 cards or 4 cards at random out of the Evolution trait deck and send us your pictures, and we'll call you out in one of our future episodes.
Matter of fact, first episode dare. Here it is.
Oh.
Draw an animal. And if you send it to us, and we get animals, then we're gonna look at them. We're gonna look at them. And we're going to take a couple of them, and we will put them on this whiteboard.
Hey, might even
For
put
an
a couple
episode.
on Still Store, show you those.
Yeah.
We love when people get involved, and also, I mean, we're going to give you some emails that you can kind of send, requests and such to, because this is, as we said, our inaugural episode. Inaugural. I can't.
You're
I am
so
no
terrible at that word. You're not using it anymore.
I'm not allowed to use the
Inaugural,
word.
yes.
What word?
Inaugural.
Wow. Hey, check out the big brain on
Brett.
pop culture. But seriously, this is our pilot episode. How's that?
Pilot's a much easier word and more your speed. Yes.
So with this being our pilot episode, we really want to get a lot of your feedback. Was it too much on the humor? Was it not enough on the humor? Was it the humor Goldilocks chose? Was it just right? Did we focus enough on the mechanics? We want to hear from you, because we're going to be launching this in a full series where, again, the Bodhana Breakdown is going to be the mainstay of what we do, which is what you saw today when we talked about, again, Evolution, published by North Star Games. But there's a lot of different games out there. You see just a couple of the games that are behind us. If you're a game developer or producer and you'd like to send us a copy of the game, you're figuring, hey, my game's therapeutic too. I'd first say, why are you talking like Jimmy Stewart? But pop culture?
Well, that's because I was really excited, Mary, about all the ideas and things that the Bodhana Group's talking about, and by golly, I gotta get my game in there.
Merry Christmas, scavengers!
Merry Christmas, Evolution!
All right.
Wow. But so please send all correspondence to the Bodhana Group at gmail.com, which we are actually going to put up kind of on Still Store here while this is going on. And I want to say thank you to our producer and filmer, Alex Watt, one of the lovely persons from Wicked Turtle Productions, who is helping us with the production and delivery of this episode. So thank you there.
What we like to say is the quality
The quality.
behind the quantity.
So wait, what is it? So what does that make us?
We're the quantity.
We're the
Follow the metaphor. I left breadcrumbs. Hansel and Gretel.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
We've come full circle.
Brought it back.
Yes.
Brought it back.
Yes. He brought sexy back?
That's what I do.
Pop culture. But seriously, if there are any games that you would like to see us cover in future episodes of the Bodhana-Cast, Gaming with Intention, we are also planning to do segments, interviews with designers, or different focuses on role-playing games as opposed to just board games. So there's a lot in store for you with Gaming with Intention, the Bodhana-Cast, and we hope to see you next time. And you will please tune into our Facebook, the Bodhana Group, to see more details. What did I do?
No, I love the. You will please turn into.
You will please.
Would you kindly?
Would you guys? You should. Hold on. You're in. Go ahead. Do our thing.
Right. So as we continue to put out content and episodes, you'll be able to access them. We're doing a YouTube thing, right?
We will probably do a mix between YouTube and Facebook. Yes. Why I said to tune into our Facebook, please, is that we will have future details about how you can access this video, which, of course, if you've seen it, you've already accessed it.
Good job. This is so you can explain it to your friends.
Right. That's how the pyramid scheme works. I mean,
You bring 2 people.
watering hole's kind of like a pond. See?
Ponds come.
Ponzi scheme.
Ponzi. I didn't follow that. I'm
Ponzi,
sorry.
Ralph
I'm
Mallet,
sorry.
Archie Cunningham, and
I
Ponzi.
dropped that ball right on the field.
All right. But seriously, from all of us here at Gaming with Intention, the Bodhana-Cast, I've been one of your hosts, Mr. Jack Berkenstock of the Bodhana Group.
And I've been your other host, James Kirk of York and the Bodhana Group.
James Kirk of the Enterprise.
And the Enterprise.
Because you've never heard that.
I have a lot of homes.
Thank you very much, everybody, and we'll catch you next time.
Good night.